So our topic is all about ethical decision making. So when we say ethical decision making, it refers to the process of evaluating and choosing among alternatives in a manner consistent with ethical principles. In making ethical decisions, it is necessary to perceive and eliminate unethical options and select the best ethical alternatives. Facing ethical decisions, how does a person determine what is right or wrong when making a decision? Most people faced with an ethical decision usually revert to their personal values that hopefully guide them through the decision-making process. So, sa ethical decision making is, ito yung tutulong sa'yo kung ano ba yung decision na gagawin mo, kung tama ba or mali. So, the next is the process of making ethical decisions requires. The first one is commitment. So, sa commitment naman, it is the desire to do the right thing regardless of the cost. Then, the next one is consciousness. So, consciousness, it is the awareness to act consistently and apply moral convictions to daily behavior. The third is competency. So, it is the ability to collect and evaluate information, develop alternatives, and foresee potential consequences and risks. So, we have 6 core ethical values. The first is trustworthiness. Trustworthiness concerns a variety of behavioral qualities. Trustworthiness requires honesty, integrity, and loyalty. So, sa honesty, there is no more fundamental ethical value than honesty. We associate honesty with people of honor, and we admire and trust those who are honest. Then, integrity. There are no differences in the way an ethical person makes decisions from situation to situation. No difference in the way they act at work and at home, in public and alone. So next is loyalty. Loyalty is about promoting and protecting the interests of certain people, organizations, or affiliations. Some relationships, husband, wife, employer to employee, citizen to country, create an expectation of loyalty. The second core value is respect. So respect is about honoring the essential worth and dignity of all people, including oneself. We are morally obligated to treat everyone with respect, regardless of who they are and what they have done. We have a responsibility to be best we can be in all situations, even when dealing with unpleasant people. So, sa respect naman is, kailangan mong irespeto yung ibang tao, ano man sila or ano man ang katayuan nila sa buhay. Then, syempre, kailangan mo din i-respect yung sarili mo. So, the third ethical core value is responsibility. So, life is full of choices. Being responsible means being in charge of our choices and therefore our lives. It means being accountable for what we do and who we are. It also means recognizing that we do and what we don't do matters. So the fourth is fairness. So fairness is a tricky concept. Disagreeing parties tend to maintain that there is only one fair position, their own. But while some situations and decisions are clearly unfair, fairness usually refers to a range of morally justifiable outcomes rather than discovery of one fair answer. So the fifth is caring. Caring is the heart of ethics. It is scarcely possible to be truly ethical and not genuinely concerned with the welfare of others. That is because ethics is ultimately about our responsibilities toward other people. So the last ethical value is citizenship. The concept of citizenship includes how we ought to behave as part of a community. The good citizen knows the laws and obeys them, but they also volunteer and stay informed on the issues of the day. So citizens do more than their fair share to make society work. now and for future generations. So citizenship can have many expressions such as conserving resources, recycling, using public transportation, and cleaning up litter.
A seven-step path. First is stop and think. This provides several benefits. It prevents rash decisions, prepares us for more thoughtful discernment, and can allow us to mobilize our discipline. Example scenario is that, should I download music illegally? Siyempre, bago ka magdesisyon, kailangan mo munang mag-isip. Hindi yung agad-agad kang umuoo or humihindi without thinking. Kasi, may kasabihan nga tayong nasa huli ang pagsisisi. Clarify goals. It is the understanding our goals, both long-term and short-term. It can help us determine our desired or expected outcome. For example is, your goal is to have a wide variety of music on your phone. So, is it a long-term or short-term aims? Third is determine facts. When determining facts, we need to consider our source of information. So, for example, is the source credible? Example scenario is that facts might include that it is illegal to download music and I could get caught. Fourth is develop options. Look at possible options by brainstorming a list of options. For example, your option 1 is download music. Option 2, don't download but purchase the song instead. Five is consider consequences. So, sino ba at ano ba yung magiging effect ng choice ko? Is it good or bad? For example, the harm might include the following. Downloading for free means that the artist is not being paid for it. The artist may stop producing music. The good might include the fact I would have this song on my playlist. Sixth step is choose. So after thinking and clarifying goals, then determining facts, then pagde-develop ng options, and i-consider lahat ng consequences na pwedeng mangyari, dito ka na pwedeng mag-decide kung ano ba yung gagawin mo. Lastly is monitor and modify. So, after choosing a decision, titingnan mo na lang if yung decision mo is pumupunta ba sa goal mo. If hindi, you need to make a new decision para mapunta siya sa pinaka-goal mo talaga.
Summary of the steps of the ethical decision-making process. Gather the facts. Don't jump to conclusions without the facts. Questions to ask. Who, what, where, when, how, and why. Define the ethical issues. Don't jump to solutions without first identifying the ethical issues in the situation. Define the ethical basis for the issue you want to focus on. There may be multiple ethical issues. Focus on one major, one at a time. Identify the affected parties, stakeholders. Identify all of the stakeholders. Who are the primary or direct stakeholders? Who are the secondary or indirect stakeholders? Identify consequences. Think about potential positive and negative consequences for affected parties by the decision. Focus on primary stakeholders to simplify analysis until you become comfortable with the process. What are the magnitude of the consequences and the probability that the consequences will happen? Identify the obligations, principles, rights, justice. Obligations should be thought of in terms of principles and rights involved. What obligations are created because of particular ethical principles you might use in the situation? Examples: do no harm. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do what you would have anyone in your shoes do in the given context. Consider your character and integrity. Consider what your relevant community members would consider to be kind of decisions that an individual of integrity would make in this situation. What specific virtues are relevant in the situation?
Think creatively about potential action. Be sure you have not been unnecessarily forced into a corner. If you have come up with solutions A and B, try to brainstorm and come up with a C solution that might satisfy the interests of the primary parties involved in the situation. Being an ethical human being doesn't mean there's a set standard rules on how to do it. Your mission is to be as prepared as possible before you run into a problem. For example, the teacher scolded the students because he caught the student cheating on their exam. When you say think creatively about potential actions, di ba dapat kapag gumawa ka ng desisyon or gagawin mo, dapat pag-isipan mo munang mabuti kung tama ba yung kakalabasan o mali. Gaya nung dun sa example, di ba yung student, mali yung ginawa niya kasi nag-cheat siya. Napaka-importante ng exam. Then, nahuli siya nung teacher. Pinagalitan siya. Siyempre yung teacher, nagawa niya lang yun kasi masama yung ginawa nung estudyante. Mali. Kaya ginawa niya lang yung tama para pagalitan yung student. Check your gut. Intuition is gaining credibility as a source for good decision making, knowing something is not right. To check your gut, ito yung is to honor your instincts or listen to your intuition. Ito yung pakiramdam mo na tama. Yung tama yung gagawin mo. Or alam mo na dapat ba itong gawin. Decide on the proper ethical action and be prepared to deal with opposing arguments. Say ethical action, ito yung pagiging being professional on what you're doing. For example, when a child is hungry and he stole a loaf of bread from a shop to feed, this action is ethical because the child is hungry and he wants something to eat. But this is illegal because stealing is illegalized throughout the world.